तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः.
Trainees, our respected Baiji, and all the people who have gathered here today. Ram Rocho, Saruje, and a very good afternoon to everyone present here. Today we are really fortunate that with the grace of Guru Maharaj Ji and with the grace of this universe, we have all gathered here to listen and understand what satsang is. I've been very fortunate and very blessed to have been given this opportunity to travel around the world, to share the wisdom and the spirituality of India amongst people everywhere. Recently in my trips, wherever I travel to, because I have a walking stick, most of the people ask me what happened. You have hurt in the leg, what happened? So the most simplest explanation to that is that I made the mistake of arguing with my wife, and that's what happened. But wherever I go, the most frequently asked question is, how did this happen and why did this happen? And it's a fundamental question which, when I think about it, it's not only related to my life or my situation, but any momental change in your life will bring you to fundamentally ask these questions to yourselves. Why is this happening to me? And how is this happening to me? If you look at these questions from a certain angle or a certain perspective, then for sure it is, these questions are very important, these two words are very important, how and why. But if you look at it from the other angle, that are these two fundamental words very important in our lives, or the act that we have to perform is more important than asking the question? Because I can sit and I can ponder, why did my accident happen? How did it happen? If I would have done things differently, would the accident be averted? If something else would have happened to me, then I would not be in this situation today. And fundamentally, whenever we go through struggles, we tend to be introvert and we tend to ask these questions, to ourselves. But sometimes asking questions is not the solution. Because once the act has happened, once the accident has happened, there is really nothing that you can do to change the situation you are in. You have to put your best step forward and continue fighting the struggle that you are fighting. Fight with the circumstances around you. So, fundamentally, when people ask me, how did this happen, why did this happen, it's brought an interesting revelation within myself. And when I think about it more and more, I come to the conclusion that to understand the direction of which life wants us to take us in, our perspective of life has to be very clear. Now, what do I mean by the word perspective? I will just narrate a very simple story to you. It will help us to understand why perception itself is very important. So, I'm quoting a very famous person from India. His name is Ramakrishnan. And his quote is that change will not be given to you. You must bring your change yourself. Now, if I say that this quote was said by a very famous Indian person, for sure the wordings and the meaning of these words somehow feel that they are very important in our lives. Many philosophers will ponder as to what Ramakrishnan said and, make theories on what he's trying to say. He's simply saying change will not be given to you. You must bring your change yourself. Now some people might think that these words are filled with wisdom, with great insight. Now if I tell you who this great Indian Ramakrishna is, then it puts a lot of things in perspective. How? When I tell you that this great Indian Ramakrishna is a bus conductor, and he's telling people it's not the change of life, he's talking about change to a dollar. So as a bus conductor, he's telling you that you will not be given change, you must bring the exact change yourself. Now see, till we did not know who this great Indian Ramakrishna is, his words were filled with wisdom. You say, wow, change will not be, given to you, you must bring about the change yourself. These words imbibe us with self-motivation, self-pride, that the self should make the effort to bring about any change in itself, in our own lives. But the moment you put the perspective as to who this person is and in which context he is speaking, suddenly, in a minute, the words which was filled with wisdom and insights are irrelevant. Because he's talking about change to a dollar. He's not talking about any great insight. So, the perspective with which we lead our life is very important. And the perspective is what we have to understand, that life is a journey of experiences that we are taking. Every moment the world can bring a positive experience to you or a negative experience to you. But experience is the life-giving force to this journey of life. Every moment you have the ability to experience this world. And who is experiencing this world? The experiencer. You as an individual consciousness. So when the consciousness is interacting with this world, the purpose of interaction has to be understood. Why were we made the way we are? Why was the mind created the way it is? Why the ability to question the world was given to us? Why do we challenge everything that we do not understand? Certain tendencies on human nature has to be understood, because it is through your human nature that you can have an insight to your consciousness. So our sages say that the purpose of life first has to be understood, and we have to understand that why are we born into this world in the first place. Now many people can have a very casual outlook to life. Many people can say the world is a world of materialistic pleasures. One is born into this world, one will die, but eventually your journey is between different pleasures that you will get from the world, which in India we call bhog. That this world is made for you to experience it. Some people will say that life itself has no purpose. You are born, you will die. Everything that you have accomplished will one day fade away. So itself, life has no meaning, because you are only here till the time you are here. But if you look through all the different angles of looking at to what life is, the most simplest explanation that a philosopher said, that the purpose of life is nothing more than to live, than to experience, because that is why we are here. Every breath that we take vitalizes our body in such a way that within you there are senses of perception, within you there are senses of understanding, and all these senses are working in such close correlation for what? For you to experience the world, for you to be alive, for you to say that I am conscious and I am alive. So our sages say that when we first live life to experience things, that is the correct way of living. Now the second thing is, what are we experiencing? Because automatically when we are born, the moment the mind becomes able and strong, the mind creates fundamental boundaries, which are called choices. What we like, what we do not like. Who is mine and what is not mine. This is the country I live in, this is the country I do not live in. This is my language, my religion, my culture, my way of thinking. This is not your way of thinking. So these subtle divisions that the mind is making is in order to experience what we want to experience. That is why it is a simple choice. When you all knew that today was a program, many people might have had a thought or a notion that we should go. Many people. But not all the people who had that thought are present here. Because for some people, even if they wanted to be here, there would be circumstances and situations that would not permit them to be here. There could be some wedding in the family, some other function, some prior commitment. And even with that simple feeling of wanting to be here, many people are not. So in the same way, life in every moment of this journey will bring us to infinite crossroads. Crossroads are what? That you are stepping to a point in your life where you have to decide, should I take this path or should I not take this path? And what governs our choices is how we perceive ourselves. Many people choose life just out of experiencing the same repetition of pleasure sensation. We all want to be happy, we all want to experience happiness, and before making a choice, we just value everything that we are choosing according to that gauge of happiness. That if I do this, eventually will I be satisfied or not? Eventually will I be happy or not? Or if I do this, will my life be filled with more struggle or not? But life and its complications cannot be easily solved. Because today I think I choose this path. It is very beneficial for me. But maybe later on in life, that path that I have taken, which I took in a very instant way of just gratifying my senses, that if I do this, I will get happiness, I will get satisfaction, and my life will be happy. But walking down that path with time, we realize that that choice was wrong. All those things that I have created around myself or possessed around myself, or the choices that I have made to make myself happy, are in turn making me the most unhappiest person. So the question is that first one must understand oneself. If we are conscious beings, what is the force inside of us that is making us a conscious being? Now for this, one has to have the sense of being an introspective person. Because the world outside is ever changing, and it's changing so fast. Perceptions, time, your thoughts, your interaction with someone. You meet someone, he smiles at you, internally you become very happy. If he didn't smile at you, you will become very angry. In an instant, your internal world and how you perceive the world is changing. In a moment, if the sun shines, it's a beautiful day. If it starts raining, it does not become a beautiful day. If it's extreme cold, then you'll say, oh, it is the worst day. Of this month, it's so cold, we can't do anything outside. So just the weather changing outside, the external world, is influencing your internal world so strongly that a change outside is making your internal world, in a flux. You are happy one moment, you are sad one moment, you are despaired one moment, you are filled with hope one moment. So within this flux of changes, the consciousness is not realized, it is suppressed somewhere. So in order for you to experience your true self, what our scriptures say, is the pure self, is the conscious self of you, one must be first free of these external perceptions. That journey leads us down to the path of meditation. Now meditation, many people have written books about it. Many people want to define it in ways. Many people say, oh, when there is no mind, that is meditating. But there are no definition as to what meditation is. Meditation simply means surrendering yourself into the moment that you exist in. Now, we are all here present today, but we will not be present in Calgary forever. We will not be present in this hall forever. We have come for a time being. When the program will end, we will all make our journeys back to the places we came from. Some people will be living in Calgary, will go back to Calgary. People have come from Lethbridge, will go back to Lethbridge. I will make my journey home. Paiji will make her journey home. We've come, congregated to this point, and we will leave this point and go. So life is ever changing. But within this ever changing process of life, there is the experiencer of life, which is constant. And that experiencer of life has to be understood who that experiencer is. Now, for a human being, or all of us to exist, there are primarily three forces that work in union within us. The first force is your mind, The second force is your body. And then the third force, which is the subtle force, is your spirit. Now within these forces there is a constant play as to which will, sort of be more powerful in our life. For some people, physical activity means everything. A person is physically active, he feels whole, he feels complete. For some people, the intellectual type, satisfying the mind is more important than satisfying the body. So you'll have some people who are bookworms, who will spend hours and hours reading books, hours and hours on researching, because their intellectual hunger has to be satisfied in order for them to be complete. But the body and the mind are also temporary. They are not permanent. Because we see the mind with age, with time deteriorates. Our body with age and time deteriorates. Our sages say that the fundamental nature of what is true is that it is unchangeable. That means everything that is in a flux of change cannot be true because it exists momentarily. You are young today, you will not be young tomorrow. You will be only older than you are. So your age is making your body change. Your mind is very active today. It won't be as active as it is today tomorrow. And as time will pass, you will see how the mind also becomes weak. Mind becomes incapable of doing certain things. We forget things very easily. We don't remember people's names. And then there are so many other degenerative diseases of the mind that eventually a person forgets his own self. He cannot even remember who he is. So the mind is also in a flux. It's in a change. Hence, mind cannot be true. But subtly, because the mind and the body have such an overwhelming presence, that in our life we forget that there is a third aspect in this wheel of life, in this union of life, that is our human life, that is mostly forgotten. And that aspect is your prime vital, is your spirit. And this spirit has to be experienced in order for us to understand that we are of the spirit. The body is temporary, the mind is temporary. But all through your stages of your changes and your existence, your spirit is constant. And because the spirit is constant, you are able to experience all these changes. So our sages very simply and practically put it, that unless you become introvert, unless you are free of the mind and of the body, you will never be able to understand what your true self is. Now, what is the meaning of true self? That is another question that people get confused in. We all have a name that has been given to us, and we all identify or introduce ourselves with that name. We all live in some country or the other. We identify ourselves with the place that we live in. We all have careers and jobs, or some people are studying. We identify ourselves with the act that we are doing. So if a person is curing someone, he will say, I am a doctor, my name is so-and-so, and I live in such and such country. That is the basic introduction of ourselves that we can give of each other when we meet. Someone else can say, I am a teacher, I live in this place, and this is my name. In the same way, all our individualities are divided according to what our name is, according to our job, and according to where we live. But fundamentally ask your question, that do these primal three things only define you? Are you only a name and a person living in a place and a person performing an action and nothing more? And when you slowly begin to understand this, you will realize and you will ask yourself, yes, I am a name. But my being is something that cannot be defined by just a word. It is something greater than that. Human beings have emotions, we have expressions, we have way to share our experiences, but the name cannot give that. You tell me your name, I will not know through your name what your beliefs are, what your likes are, what your choices are, what do you like to do, what kind of music you like to listen, do you like art or not. Now these subtle aspects of your personality also make who you are, but we never think about it. Because the first introduction that we give ourselves that defines us is a name. I will say I am so and so and this is who I am. But beyond the name, there are so many aspects of you that cannot be justified or defined by that name. So you are greater than your name. You are greater than the place that you are staying. You are greater than the act that you do that defines you. You are not only a doctor, you are greater a being than a doctor. You are greater being than a teacher. You are greater being than a lawyer. But the fact is that these definitions are so strong that the world forces us to make these choices. And when we make these subtle choices, there is a very important aspect of you that we forget. We never ponder, we never shed light on ourselves that this is also who we are. So slowly, when one meditates, when one surrenders to the moment, then this play of the mind, this running of the mind to different thoughts, to different definitions, this play ceases. And then what happens? Your true self, the self that you are within, it comes forth. It's like a gold coin can be dropped into a river. And if mud covers it, it's not that the gold coin has disappeared. It is just that your view is obstructed and you cannot see that gold coin. But if there would be a sudden rush of water coming in and the mud is cleared, then the gold coin was always present there. It was always within your sight, you just could not see it. In the same way, our sages explain, your true self, your conscious self, that is beyond definition, beyond description, is something that is separate of you. You don't have to go looking for it. Because many people, they come to India, and India is a country of almost 1.2 billion people more. But when people come to India and I ask them, why are you traveling to India? So most of the people, most of the Western minds that come to India, they are looking for something. They are looking for answers to their lives, solution to their problems. And they said, oh no, our life is very hectic in the West and we've come to, find ourselves here. But the fact is that you didn't lose yourself in India, that you will find yourself in India. You lost yourself at home and that's where you have to find yourself. There is no searching and coming to India that India is a land that suddenly will give you enlightenment. No. We are 1.2 billion people living in a country. If all of us have one problem, India itself as a country has 1.2 billion problems. With 1.2 billion problems, I don't think so we are in a state of solving other people's problems. We have to first solve our own problems. So the fact is, this is the play of the mind. Now the mind is the trickster. In our sages, in our scriptures, the mind is called the Mahamaya. Maya means the illusion of this world. Is the temporary state of all things. Temporary state? Because everything exists for a time and then it disappears. We laugh for a while, then we cry. We meet someone, we are separated from them. We construct someone, we construct something, eventually time destroys it. You are born into this world, eventually we die from this world and we go away. Well, life itself is temporary. Everything that we are experiencing in this life, everything we are possessing in life is also temporary. So the illusion is, the Maya is what? That we think that everything that we are experiencing is permanent. That is the illusion of this world. But our sages said that this illusion can be easily, understood. Why? Because certain experience in your life will make you question your existence. When you start questioning your existence, when you ask the right questions, eventually the universe presents some solutions, some answers in front of you. And it's easy to then understand that how everything is bound by time. We are experiencing it. But our sages said that the most difficult Maya to understand is the Maya created by your own mind, which is the greater Maya, Mahamaya. And that greater Maya has to be understood because it is our own creation. It is our creation that we want to be separate from this conscious universe. And that Mahamaya creates the sense of separation. Any sense of separation is the manifestation of ego within you. What is ego? How do you define it? Ahankar, Abhiman. What is ego in its basic form? This belongs to me. This does not belong to you. The thought that we are separate and segregated, That is the root cause of any thought that stems out of ego. That is why we say, this family, this one belongs to me, this one doesn't belong to me. This is my country, this is not my country. So if you see how the Mahamaya, the greater Maya, has divided us in this undivided world. The world stems out of consciousness. The world stems out of energy. Energy does not choose its form. It is manifested everywhere. It is common to all. But we have segregated, using this energy, the world we have divided into race, religion, caste, creed, so many barriers that we have separated ourselves. So our Seji says, till your Mahamaya is not resolved, you will always be restless, no matter where you are, no matter what situation you are in, no matter what place you are in. So in order for you to understand your true potential, one must let go of a lot of things. And that letting go is, in simple words, in the most simplest of words put in, is forgiving the world around you and forgiving yourself. Because unless you forgive yourself, you are not letting go to a lot of things. We all are here. Many people have come here to listen to satsang. There will be a few who come here to eat the Mahaprasad at the end, which is, that's like a bonus. Because when we read the letter, the invitation, always there is written there will be dinner or Mahaprasad served. Now say the program is over, we are all going to the place where the Mahaprasad will be served. If someone comes and pushes you or nudges you, takes your place, your instant reaction will be what? Anger. That I was supposed to eat and this person has come and he's disrupted me. But because it's a spiritual program, we will not have an outburst of anger. We'll try to control ourselves. By the simple thought by saying, if I start becoming angry, what will people say? So there's a check. When people are looking, we are in check. And we'll say, okay, let this person go. But internally, what is happening? If at that moment you don't forgive and forget what has happened, then the person who has pushed you will go back in your mind with you to your house also. Maybe a year passes and we meet again in Calgary next year for a program such as this. And again you will come here, but you haven't forgotten that man who's pushed you. You will be sitting here, you will be looking for that person. The last year when I came here, someone pushed me. Someone hurt my ego. This is the chance I'll get back to him. If he's here, I'll try to push him. So see, a year has passed away, so much time has passed away, but have we changed? No. You hold on to an instant that has happened to you, a memory, an experience, and the world is ever changing, you are ever changing. But within you, if you haven't let go, then you are not changing, you are just stuck. And this holding on to certain things is the reason why as a human consciousness we are not evolving. We are evolving, we are gaining so much of knowledge, but when knowledge is put into practicality, we are still an infant, looking around, searching, questioning everything, looking everyone in doubt, suspecting someone. This is not the way to live life. Life is not meant to be a life of suffering. But because we hold on to so much of negativity, our life is made into a life of suffering. We are not free. We are not evolving. We are not experiencing new things because we are not letting the old experiences go. So one of the main important things of progressing in life, I feel, is learn to forgive people around you. And learn to forgive yourself. Because what you did in the past does not in any way define your present, and it has no ability to define the future unless your mind makes it so. And if the mind is immature, it will hold on to immature things. It will hold to immature hate, immature jealousy, immature pain and suffering. That itself has no reality, but the reality that the mind gives it. So our sages have very simply, tried to explain all the knowledge that is written in the scripture is manifested out of human experiences, is out of human life. So human being itself is a living scripture. You are writing a new chapter in your life by every action that you are doing. Now, whether the action is positive or negative, that is a state of opinion. You might culturally be doing one thing, another cultural person might say, oh, this is wrong, this is right. Those are cultural differences. But as an individual, what makes us human, what makes us grow, are essentially fundamentally very common things. We say that this person is very good. Why? Because the person must have touched me in some way or the other, must have helped me in some way or the other. I was crying, he spent time with me, he made me laugh, and I would say, no, he's a good person. If the person in my negative moment or in my moment of despair is trying to rob me of something, I won't praise him. I won't say, oh, he's a very good person. I'll say, no, he's a very bad person. Because I was distressed, and in that vulnerable state, he tried to take advantage of me. So what are humane qualities that makes us good? It is your ability to care for someone, to share your experiences with someone. But when we are living in a materialistic life, these human aspects are not values that we are inculcating ourselves. In the materialistic world, we are only thinking, I, me, myself. Our world view is only narrowed to this. My profit, my job, my family, my needs. Forget about the world. And when you start living like this, that's when the boundaries, you set boundaries to your own expansion of consciousness. And consciousness, when it's fully free, has no boundaries. It cannot be limited, it cannot be subjected to anything. But the mind's force is so strong that temporarily it does subject us to our negative thoughts, to our negative desires. And that takes us further away from ourselves. So, basically what I'm trying to say is that our sages give us a method through which we can understand ourselves better. And by understanding ourselves better, we can be better human beings. We can not only change our lives, but through our touch, we can touch other people's life and change their lives too. That is what is meant of being a human being. And that is the purpose and goal that we are all here to share. We are here to help one another to reach a state of existence where consciousness is expanded, where human values are expanded into this world. That is what is the basic thought of, in our scriptures we talk about Ram Rajya. What is Ram Rajya? It is a kingdom of consciousness, where consciousness is enlightened in certain state that the negativities of the world have no place in that world. Where jealousy, strife, hatred, anger, these things do not exist. Why? Because we have evolved beyond these states. But that is not the world that we are living in today. Today there is threat of war in almost every country that you go to. The world is divided into the name of religion, caste, creed. Religious hatred has killed more people than I guess wars in this world. So I guess somewhere along the line, when we are born into this world, even though there's a initial voice inside of us to be better human beings, but somewhere we have forgotten our true path, and we have been distracted by other things in this world, by other pools of the world, by the negativity of this world, and we have taken certain paths that in turn have misguided us. It has taken us away from ourselves. Now to correct it, what must be done? If there is a knot tied and you want to untie that knot, what do you have to do? You have to simply use the opposite way in which you tied the knot. The action has to be performed exactly the opposite way. So if the knot was tied in a particular way, if you keep on pulling the knot is not gonna be loosened. It's gonna get tighter and tighter. The moment you realize, okay, by doing this action, I am forcing the knot to be tighter. The moment you loosen the strings and you make the direction opposite, the knot is untied. Now what is the knot inside of us? It is the restlessness of the mind. It is the running of the mind that causes us stress, that causes us to experience the world not in its true sense. Now what is the journey or the travel of mind? The restlessness of the mind. Now we all are here. Now we are all connected, everyone has a cell phone, everyone will be on WhatsApp. Now say suddenly you receive a message on your phone saying that there is a burglary in progress at your house. Your neighbors messaged you. Till the time the message didn't come, everything was good. You were very happy, you were enjoying this program, looking forward to the dinner served later or the Mahaprasad served later, looking forward to meeting new people from different places. So life is happy. We are having a very beautiful cultural program. But the moment this message is received, you are not traveling to your house, your mind is traveling to the house. And what is the mind traveling to? If the wife is there, wife will be thinking about her jewelry and the saris. Because that is more valuable to the wife. The husband won't be thinking about the wife's saris. The husband will be thinking about his computer and his TV or the car or whatever the husband values. The child will not be even worried about these things. The child will be thinking about his toys. That I hope my toys are not stolen. That my favorite toy is not missing when we reach back home. So the moment the mind travels, we are suffering. The moment the mind is not here in the present, experiencing what this moment is, there will be some sort of distress in your life. Now what happens is, you will look at each other, you will send a message to your loved ones, you will tell the person sitting next to you, this is happening, I have to go, because you're worried. There's a burglary at your house, you have to be at home to protect and to see what has happened. Now the moment you gather your family, you tell everyone's mind is now running to their respective, value system that they have. But the moment you reach your car, you get another message from your neighbor saying there's no need to worry, we called the police is here, the burglars are caught, there was nothing stolen from your house. Now what will happen? There is no need for the mind to worry. Immediately when you say the house is protected, nothing is stolen, you are relaxed. The mind has come back to the present. And when the mind is back in the present, what will you say to each other? You will say, oh, let's go back inside the program, we were having such a good time. So, in a moment, your mind travels. And how it travels is causing the stress in your life. So our sages said it is very important for all of us to understand how to focus this mind, channelize this mind. And that is what meditation is. When you surrender yourself to the moment, it's not that you have to sit in a lotus position when you are meditating. You can meditate while you are driving. Just give in to the act of driving. Do not think about anything else. Usually, we all complain that we don't have time, life is so, stressful, there is no time. But say if you are stuck in a traffic jam, you have all the time in the world. You can do whatever you want to listen to music, you want to sing a song. But what happens to us when we get stuck in a traffic jam? We become our very worst self. Someone is angry, someone is restless. For no reason we become angry at the people around us. We are shouting at someone, why aren't you moving? Why aren't you doing this? In India everyone would be honking, So this is a way of expressing our worst self. But then why are we complaining? If we are sitting in a traffic jam and the traffic jam is not moving and we know we have to be stuck here for hours, or 1 hour, or half an hour, or whatever the time phrase is, why not make that time positive? Why does it have to be negative? Because the mind is not in our control. The mind is still governed by the external forces around us. If it's hot, the weather is good. If it's cold, like when I first came here to Calgary and I saw it was so cold, I said to myself, I should be the last one who should complain. Why? Because when I was in Delhi a week ago, I was complaining how hot it was. It's 34 degrees, it's so humid, it's so hot. So when I came here, I just said that God just granted me my wish. I was complaining how hot it was. Now He's taken me to a place that is cold. So in turn, He's granted me a wish. I didn't want to be in a hot place, now I'm in a cold place. Now after coming here, I can't be complaining how cold is it, because then God will again put me back into Delhi. So my mind, if it's restless, it's not giving me happiness in life. No matter where I am, I'm just chasing these ghosts and these demons. So to focus the mind, to surrender yourself into the act that you do is basic meditation. And it happens. Now you will say, no, we have never had a state of samadhi. India cricket match. Everyone is in a state of samadhi. People forget to eat, people forget to bathe, people forget, somehow even if the timings are wrong, because telecast, the match is being played in one country, it is being aired in multiple time zones. People will forget to brush. They'll get up in the morning, they'll be glued to the TV. Why? Because the match is coming. You have surrendered everything to the given act of watching a cricket match. That is meditating. But the only thing is, when the match ends, then this whole world again comes flooding back. Again all the distractions are back. So if the match was on, we didn't care about what was happening, around the world, around outside of us. But the moment the match is over, the WhatsApp, we'll look at our phone, oh my God, I have 120 WhatsApp messages. Again, you're back into the grind. But for a moment, you were free. Because you were only watching the match and nothing else. The mind was not thinking about, oh, my business is good, my shop is running, is the wife made the food that I like tonight or not? Nothing like that. But the moment the match ends, the world comes flooding back in. So in the same way, when you focus your mind, every morning when you get up, just focus it in the moment. You will be meditating. Do it enough number of times, you will be meditating every day. Do it enough number of times in your life, and your life will be in complete focus. There is no distraction. So the thing is, one must first understand your perception of who you are. Once you change that perception, then automatically your habits change. Some habits in our immaturity we have got it in this world. We get restless very fast, we get impatient very fast. But then there are ways to correct that also in life. If you're a very restless person, very impatient person, get married. The other better half will remove all the restlessness from you. There is dictated orders that you have to follow in order to have a hot meal at the end of the day. So, simple things in life can make great changes. But the change is born from within you, from your perception of yourself. Nothing else in this world can change who you are, except yourself. By focusing who you are within yourself, you can find yourself. तो प्रेमी सज्जनों, आज गुरु महाराज जी की असीम कृपा से हम लोगों को ये समय मिला है और सबसे पहले तो मैं पूरे कनाडा के प्रेमियों को बहुत बहुत बधाई देना चाहता हूँ कि आप लोगों के संघर्षों से, भाई जी लोगों के संघर्षों से और गुरु महाराज जी की असीम कृपा से अब आपके कैलगरी में भी मानव उत्थान सेवा समिति का एक आश्रम हो गया है। और हम यही चाहेंगे कि जिस तरह से असंख्य आश्रम है पूरे विश्व भर में और हर एक आश्रम एक दीपक का काम करते हैं। दीपक का क्या काम होता है कि अंधकार को मिटाना। ऐसे ही हमारे महान पुरुष समझाते हैं कि जीवन में जितने भी दुख हैं वो किस आधार या किस बुनियाद पे है। दुनिया में लड़ाइयां हैं, दुनिया में झगड़े हैं, हमारे ही व्यक्तिगत जीवन में झगड़े हो सकते हैं, लड़ाइयां हो सकती है, खामियां हो सकती है, लेकिन ये सब चीजें क्यों हैं? ये सब चीजें इसलिए है क्योंकि मानव अज्ञानता के अंधकार में अपना जीवन व्यतीत कर रहा है। महान पुरुष समझाते हैं कि हर एक मानव के अंदर एक अगाध शक्ति है कि उसका वास्तविक स्वरूप है। अगर वो उसे पहचान ले तो वो अपने जीवन के अंधकार से दूर हो सकता है, अपने जीवन के अज्ञानता से दूर हो सकता है। और उसी को कहा कि एक आदमी जब दूसरा जन्म लेता है, दूसरा जन्म लेना ये नहीं कि हम फिजिकली शारीरिक रूप से दूसरा जन्म ले सकते हैं, एक जन्म तो अपने शरीर में ले लिया, लेकिन मानसिक रूप से अगर हम ज्ञान को अपने जीवन की बुनियाद बनाएं, अच्छाई को अपने जीवन की बुनियाद बनाएं, धर्म को अपने जीवन की बुनियाद बनाएं, तो जीवन हमारे लिए पीड़ित नहीं हो सकता है, जीवन खुशहाल हो सकता है। जैसे हमारे शास्त्रों में वर्णन किया गया है कि जीवन का एक मकसद है, लेकिन अक्सर क्या होता है, हम मकसद से इसलिए वंचित रह जाते हैं कि ये चंचल मन है, ये हमें घुमाता रहता है संसार में। अब आपको एक उदाहरण मैं देता हूं। एक बहुत बड़े सेठ थे, देश विदेश का भ्रमण करके आते हैं अपने घर और अपने दर्जी को बुलाते हैं, टेलर को बुलाते हैं। टेलर को एक बहुत सुंदर मखमल का कपड़ा देते हैं और कहते हैं कि भाई इससे मेरा सूट बनाओ या कुर्ता बनाओ, जो भी तुम्हें ठीक लगे बनाओ। और वो दर्जी में मखमल के कपड़े को देखता है, कहता है कि भाई ऐसा मखमल तो मैंने आज तक देखा ही नहीं, ये तो बहुत महंगा कपड़ा होगा। बड़े संभाल करके अपनी दुकान में उसे ले जाता है, अपने डेस्क पे उसको रखता है कि अब मैं धीरे धीरे मैं पहले सोचूंगा कि मैं सेठ जी के लिए क्या बनाऊं और उसको इन्विजन करूंगा और फिर मैं कपड़ा काटना शुरू करूंगा। तो अपनी मेज पे उसे रख करके खिड़की खोल करके वो जो दर्जी था कुछ समय के लिए बाहर चले जाता है। जब अंदर आता है तो क्या देखता है कि एक शाही की शीशी जो उसके डेस्क पे पड़ी हुई थी वो गिरी हुई है और धीरे धीरे शाही वो मखमल के कपड़े की तरफ जा रही है। कुछ कपड़ा में शाही लग भी गई। अब वो दर्जी अपने नौकरों को बुलाता है, कहता है भाई तुम लोग इस कमरे में थे, क्या हुआ, ये शाही कैसे गिरी? तो नौकर कहता है कि जी आपने खिड़की खोली तो एक बिल्ली कूदी और बिल्ली कूदी तो उसने शाही की ये शीशी को गिरा दिया। अब क्या है कि दो चीजें हो सकती है। एक तो आप प्रश्न पूछे कि भाई ये क्यों हुआ, कैसे हुआ। अब ये क्यों कैसे का जो चक्कर है वो चलता ही रहेगा, ये अनगिनत है। कैसे? क्योंकि वो कहेगा कि जी बिल्ली क्यों भागी, तो नौकर कहेगा जी कुत्ते भाग रहे थे। अब कुत्ते क्यों भाग रहे थे? कि कुत्ते को भूख लगी थी। कुत्ते को क्यों भूख लगी थी? कुत्ते के मालिक ने उसे खाना नहीं दिया। कुत्ते के मालिक ने उसे खाना क्यों नहीं दिया? अनगिनत एक थॉट प्रोसेस है, इसको रोका नहीं जा सकता। आप पूछते रहे जी क्यों हुआ, उसका एक जवाब मिलता रहेगा। लेकिन वर्तमान में जो समस्या है, क्या प्रश्न पूछने से उस समस्या का समाधान है? समस्या का समाधान नहीं। आप प्रश्न पूछते जाएंगे, वो शाही का दाग उतना गहरा होता चले जाएगा। लेकिन अगर आप कहेंगे कि जी भाई समाधान क्या है, तो समाधान एक ही है कि आप दर्जी को कहे कि दर्जी पहले इस शाही के दाग को निकालो, बाद में पूछते रहेंगे कि भाई क्या होना है, पहले कपड़े को बचाओ। तो कहने का अभिप्राय यही है कि मन भी चलायमान है। चलायमान मतलब एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जाना मन का काम है। मन भटक रहा है एक वासनाओं से दूसरी वासना पे, एक कामना से दूसरी कामना पे। लेकिन महान पुरुष कहते हैं कि इस मन को अपने अंदर स्थिर किया जा सकता है, और मन को स्थिर करने का जो ज्ञान है वो महान पुरुष बताते हैं, समझाना चाहते हैं कि कैसे किया जा सकता है। तो समझाते हैं कि आपके अंदर एक अगाध शक्ति है, लेकिन वो शक्ति छिपी भी कहाँ है। तो एक बहुत प्राचीन इतिहास है, उसको त्रिपुरा महारहस्य कहा जाता है। त्रिपुरा महारहस्य में परशुराम जी शिष्य है और उनके गुरु दत्तात्रेय महाराज उनको ज्ञान दे रहे हैं, उनके मन की जो प्रश्नों का उत्तर दे रहे हैं। तो आप जानते हैं परशुराम जी बड़े ही ताकतवर एक तरीके से शख्सियत थी। उन्होंने कितने राजाओं को हरा करके, प्रयास करके उन्होंने मतलब अनगिनत विजय प्राप्त की थी। अब हर एक विजय कोई योद्धा प्राप्त करता है तो उसके अंदर अहंकार भी उतना बढ़ जाता है। तो परशुराम जी थे बड़े मतलब ज्ञानी भी थे, पराक्रमी भी थे, लेकिन अहंकार भी अंदर उनके कूट के भरा हुआ था, क्योंकि उनको बड़ा अहंकार था कि कोई भी राज्य की सेना नहीं है इस पूरे देश में जो मेरा मुकाबला कर सकती है। उन्हें अपनी लड़ने की शक्ति के ऊपर बड़ा गर्व था। तो एक दिन परशुराम जी अपने गुरु महाराज जी से मिलने जा रहे थे। रास्ते में क्या देखते हैं कि अघोरी बाबा आ रहे हैं चलते हुए, कोई वस्त्र नहीं पहन रखा और चलते हुए आ रहे हैं। दोनों एक दूसरे को देखते हैं, दोनों एक दूसरे के अंदर आध्यात्मिक तेज को देखते हैं, एक दूसरे को प्रणाम करते हैं, नतमस्तक होते हैं। अघोरी रुकते हैं और कुछ कहने वाले होते हैं और रुक जाते हैं और कहते हैं कि अरे परशुराम जी, वो बात कह करके फायदा ही क्या कि जो आपकी समझ में ना आए, और ये कह करके चले जाते हैं। अब परशुराम जी को ये बात इतनी अंदर से उनको ये चोट पहुंचाती है कि मैं इतना बड़ा पराक्रमी योद्धा, मैंने कितनी देवी देवताओं को मतलब प्रसन्न करके मैंने देवी अस्त्रों को पाया है, इतनी मैंने भक्ति की है, इतनी मैंने पूजा की है, इतनी मैंने अर्चना की है, और ये जो नंगा फकीर है ये मुझे कह रहा है कि मैं कुछ चीज नहीं समझ सकता। ऐसी कौन सी चीज है जो मैं नहीं समझ सकता? उनके अंदर मैं का भूत सवार था। जब दत्तात्रेय महाराज के पास पहुंचते हैं तो आप बबूले होते हैं, तो गुस्सा कंट्रोल नहीं हो रहा होता, एक्सप्रेशन में आ रहा होता है। दत्तात्रेय महाराज हंसते हैं, कहते हैं कि परशुराम जी क्या हो गया? तो परशुराम जी बताते हैं कि भाई वो आदमी कहता है कि भाई मैं कुछ नहीं समझ सकता, ऐसी कौन सी चीज है जो मैं नहीं समझ सकता? तो फिर दत्तात्रेय महाराज जी परशुराम जी के अहंकार का तोड़ बताते हैं। कहते हैं परशुराम जी, आपके अंदर जो मैं का अहंकार है ना, इसी की वजह से वो व्यक्ति आपको कुछ बहुत अच्छी बात देने वाला था, एक बहुत अनमोल ज्ञान देने वाला था, लेकिन उसने इसलिए नहीं दिया क्योंकि आपका ये मैं का अहंकार अभी बहुत है। तब फिर एक वार्तालाप होती है जिसमें दत्तात्रेय महाराज समझाते हैं कि जीवन का सत्य को अगर जानना है तो जीवन में क्या करना है। तो क्या बताते हैं? त्रिपुरा महारहस्य। त्रिपुरा मतलब सिटी, थ्री गेटेड सिटी। त्रिपुरा, तीन शक्तियों का मेल, त्रिपुरा। तो त्रिपुरा क्या है? 3 अवस्थाओं में आदमी का जीवन है। एक है जागृत अवस्था, जिसमें आप और हम हैं। अभी हम जागृत है, हमारा एक नाम है, हमारी एक पहचान है, हम एक कर्म को कर रहे हैं, हॉल में बैठ के सत्संग को सुन रहे हैं, ये हमारी सामान्यता है, ये हमारा सत्य है। लेकिन क्या होगा, हम रात को अपने घर जाएंगे, थक जाएंगे, सो जाएंगे, तब एक नई दुनिया जागृत होगी, एक नई अवस्था जागृत होगी, जिसे हम कहते हैं स्वप्न अवस्था। अब स्वप्न अवस्था में क्या है, जो चीज आप इस अवस्था में सत्य मान रहे हैं वो स्वप्न अवस्था में असत्य हो जाता है। आप सपने में ये नहीं जानते आप कहाँ रह रहे हैं, आपका नाम क्या है, आप कहाँ क्या काम करते हैं, मतलब ये जो डेफिनेशन आपकी जागृत अवस्था में ये खत्म हो जाती है। फिर एक अवस्था है सुषुप्त अवस्था, डीप स्लीप स्टेट। कभी हम इतनी गहरी नींद में सो जाते हैं कि हमें ये एहसास नहीं होता कि हम सोए थे। कभी कभी होता है, शरीर इतना थकान हो जाता है, हम आकर के कुर्सी में बैठते हैं, आंख बंद करते हैं, दूसरी बार क्या एहसास होता है कि कोई हमें उठा रहा है हाथों से, हम आंख खोलते हैं, फिर हमें एहसास होता है अरे 3 घंटे बीत गया, हमें पता ही नहीं चला, फिर हम कहते हैं अरे हम तो घोड़े बेच करके सो गए। अब इन 3 अवस्थाओं में सत्य क्या है, क्योंकि जैसे महापुरुष बताते हैं सत्य वो चीज है जिसमें परिवर्तन ना हो, जो अपरिवर्तित है। लेकिन आपकी तीनों अवस्थाओं में परिवर्तन है, क्योंकि आप एक अवस्था में है तो दूसरी 2 अवस्थाएं असत्य है। आप जागृत अवस्था में है तो स्वप्न अवस्था असत्य है, सुषुप्त अवस्था असत्य है। आप स्वप्न अवस्था में चले जाएंगे तो आपकी जागृत अवस्था असत्य है, उसके कोई कोरिलेशन ही नहीं, उसकी कोई सत्यता ही नहीं है। जब आप स्वप्न देख रहे हैं, सपने में आप आकाश में उड़ रहे हैं, आपको ये थोड़ी पता है कि आप कैलगरी में हैं या आप क्या काम करते हैं, आप तो आसमान में उड़ रहे हैं, उसका मजा भी ले रहे हैं। कोई आदमी सोच रहा है कि वो राजा बन गया तो वो राजा बनने का मजा ले रहा है, आदेश दे रहा है लोगों को। कोई आदमी को भूख ज्यादा लगी है तो अच्छे अच्छे पकवान खा रहा है, उसका टेस्ट भी उसे आ रहा है कि हाँ मैं जलेबी खा रहा हूँ चांदनी चौक में, लेकिन आप सोए तो कैलगरी में थे, चांदनी चौक तक पहुंच नहीं सकते। तो क्या है चेंज, जब आपकी स्वप्न अवस्था है तो ये जागृत अवस्था और सुषुप्त अवस्था समाप्त है। ऐसे ही जब आप डीप स्लीप में हैं तो आपको ये भी नहीं पता कि आप जीवित है कि नहीं, यू आर नॉट कॉन्शियस ऑफ योर ओन कॉन्शियसनेस। तब क्या है, तब ये भी अवस्था है, बाकी की 2 अवस्था असत्य है। तब परशुराम जी बताते हैं कि ऐसी एक क्रिया बताओ जो तीनों अवस्थाओं में हो रही है। एक क्रिया है जो कांस्टेंट है, जो हो रही है। और अगर आप सो रहे हैं, जाग रहे हैं या डीप स्लीप में हैं, आपके जीवन में आप सांस लेना नहीं भूल रहे हैं। क्योंकि आपने सांस लेना भूल गया तो आप तो जीवित ही नहीं, आप तो मर गए, स्वर्गवास हो गया। आप कहीं सके संबंधी कहेंगे राम नाम सत्य है, सत्य बोलो गत्य है, बड़े अच्छे आदमी थे लेकिन अब इस संसार में नहीं रहे। तो कहने का अभिप्राय यह है कि एक क्रिया है जो निरंतर हमारे अंदर हो रही है, चाहे हम किसी भी अवस्था में हैं। अब ये क्रिया क्या है, श्वासों का आना, श्वासों का जाना। अब दत्तात्रेय महाराज समझाते हैं परशुराम जी, कभी आपने इन श्वासों का मोल किया, कभी आपने जाना कि कितनी महत्वपूर्ण चीज है जिसके ऊपर आपका अस्तित्व, आपका जीवन टिका हुआ है। लेकिन हम सांसों की कदर नहीं करते। आदमी अपने शरीर की कितनी कदर करता है, थोड़ी सी हमें कोई शरीर की तकलीफ हो, हम पूरी दुनिया को एक कर देंगे अपने दुखों को दूर करने के लिए कि शरीर को कोई कष्ट नहीं होना चाहिए, मन को कोई कष्ट नहीं होना चाहिए, मन शांत होना चाहिए, मन हमेशा खुश होना चाहिए। और मन को खुश करने के लिए इस संसार ने कितने रंग बना दिए। आप लोग भारत देश को छोड़ करके कितने समय पहले आए तो सबसे पहले यहाँ आए तो लगता था कि भाई कितना अच्छा देश है, अरे सड़कें कितनी अच्छी हैं। लेकिन ये तो नहीं कि सड़कें अच्छी होने से जीवन खुशहाल हो गया। जीवन में वही संघर्ष है, यहाँ पर भी वही दुख है, वही खींचातानी है, मियाँ बीबी के झगड़े वही है, इंडिया में भी होते थे, कनाडा में भी हो रहे हैं, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा। लेकिन कहने का अभिप्राय ये है कि वो श्वास का महत्व क्या है। और महापुरुष यही समझाते हैं कि अगर अपने आप को जानना है तो इस श्वास के अंदर छिपी हुई शक्ति की ताकत को जानो। और वो कब हो सकता है कि जब आप इस चंचल मन को अपनी श्वासों में विलीन करते हैं। और इस क्रिया को हम कहते हैं ध्यान। अपने ध्येय में मन को लगाना, ध्यान लगाने वाला ध्याता। अपने भाव में मन को विलीन करना, भक्ति लगाने वाला भक्त। लेकिन भाव होना चाहिए ना, भाव पवित्र होना चाहिए तभी भक्ति होगी। भाव अपवित्र है तो वो स्वार्थ बन जाता है। ऐसे ही ध्येय को हम नहीं जाने तो ध्यान क्या करेंगे? कोई आदमी आपको कह देगा, कोई मंत्र दे देगा कि इस मंत्र का उच्चारण कर लो। अब मान लिया कि मैं बोल नहीं सकता, तो क्या मैं भगवान को जान नहीं सकता? तो क्या मंत्र के उच्चारण से ही भगवान मिलेंगे? और अगर एक ऐसी अवस्था है कि मैं मंत्र को भूल जाऊं, तो क्या भगवान मेरे पास नहीं? कोई आदमी आपको कह देंगे इस मोमबत्ती को देखते रहो, मोमबत्ती की लौ में देखते देखते आपको भगवान मिल जाएंगे, माइंड फोकस हो जाएगा। अब कोई मोमबत्ती चुरा ले घर से, तो क्या भगवान चले गए? भगवान को मैं नहीं पा सकता। तो मानव के मन में अलग अलग प्रभावों के अंदर रहते हुए अलग अलग रास्ते बनाए, लेकिन एक रास्ता जो दिग्गज है, जिसको भगवान श्री कृष्ण भी कहते हैं कि विद्याएं अनेक हो सकती है, लेकिन अर्जुन जो मैं ज्ञान तुझे दे रहा हूं ये राज विद्या है, सारी विद्याओं की राजा है। इसके लिए तुझे कभी किसी चीज की जरूरत नहीं है, केवल अपना दृढ़ संकल्प की जरूरत है। और अगर तेरे अंदर दृढ़ संकल्प है तो तू अपने आप को और मेरे वास्तविक स्वरूप को जान सकता है। तो क्या कहा कि एक ऐसी विधि है जिसको हम निरंतर कर सकते हैं, कभी भी कर सकते हैं, वो किसी समय परिस्थिति के अधीन नहीं है। और आप देखिए, आप बैठेंगे तो आप एक आसन के अधीन हो जाते हैं। कभी कभी आपके पैर दर्द करेंगे, आप उठ जाएंगे, आसन आपका बदल जाएगा। आप लेटे हुए हैं, आप खड़े हो जाएंगे, आप भाग रहे हैं, थक जाएंगे, आप चलने लग जाएंगे। हर एक अवस्थाओं में परिवर्तन है, लेकिन आपकी सांस लेने की क्रियाओं में कोई परिवर्तन नहीं। आप लेटे हुए भी सांस ले रहे हैं, बैठे हुए भी सांस ले रहे हैं, आप पद्मासन में होंगे तभी भी सांस ले रहे हैं, आप शवासन में लेट जाइए तभी भी आप सांस ले रहे हैं। तो इन सांसों में अपने आप को विलीन करना बहुत जरूरी है, क्योंकि मन तो देखो बहुत चंचल है। मन की कितनी विडंबनाएं हैं। एक लकड़हारा था, रोज जंगल में जाता था, लकड़ी काटता था, लकड़ी को बेच करके जो भी उसे पूंजी मिलती थी अपने पत्नी का और अपना घर चलाता था। एक दिन वो लकड़ी काट रहा था वो कुल्हाड़ी से, तो कुल्हाड़ी उसके हाथ से फिसलती है और एक तालाब में जाके गिर जाती है। अब लकड़हारा को तैरना नहीं आता, बड़ा दुखी हो जाता है, रोने लगता है, भगवान से प्रार्थना करता है। एक भगवान के रूप में एक दैविक शक्ति प्रकट होती है, कहती है भगवान ने मुझे भेजा है और भगवान जानना चाहते हैं कि भाई तुम यहाँ जंगल के बीच में बैठ के क्यों रो रहे हो। तो वो व्यक्ति कहता है कि भाई मेरी एक कुल्हाड़ी थी, उससे मैं लकड़ी काटता था, अब कुल्हाड़ी भी नहीं है, मैं कैसे अपने घर को चलाऊंगा, अपनी आमदनी को चलाऊंगा। तो वो दैविक शक्ति कहते हैं कोई नहीं, अभी तुम्हारी कुल्हाड़ी ढूंढ देता हूँ। तो वो अपना हाथ डालता है वो देवता, और जब कुल्हाड़ी निकालता है तो एक सोने की कुल्हाड़ी निकलती है। अब वो सिंपल आदमी था, ऑनेस्ट आदमी था, तो वो कहता है कि प्रभु ये मेरी कुल्हाड़ी तो है नहीं, मेरी तो एक लोहे की और लकड़ी की कुल्हाड़ी थी। तो ठीक है, वो देवता दूसरी बार हाथ डालता है तो एक चांदी की कुल्हाड़ी निकालता है। वो आदमी कहता है कि भाई ये भी मेरी कुल्हाड़ी नहीं है। तीसरी बार वो हाथ डालता है तो वो लकड़हारे की जो ओरिजिनल कुल्हाड़ी होती है, वो लकड़ी और लोहे की, वो निकाल देता है। अब लकड़हारा बड़ा खुश हो जाता है कि अरे आपने तो मेरा एक नया जीवन दान ही दे दिया, मैं अपने परिवार का, अपनी पत्नी का, सब चीज का मैं देख रेख कर सकता हूँ। अब उसकी ईमानदारी को देख करके वो देवता इतना प्रसन्न होता है कि देवता उसको तीनों कुल्हाड़ी दे देता है कि तू सोने की भी रख, और इस कलयुग में तो इतना ऑनेस्ट, इतना ईमानदार व्यक्ति तो हमने देखा ही नहीं, तो चांदी की भी कुल्हाड़ी रख। अब कुछ दिन बीतते हैं, वो लकड़हारा को किसी काम से दूसरे गांव जाना होता है, तो अपनी पत्नी के साथ चल रहा होता है। वही तालाब आता है, पत्नी को प्यास लगती है, पत्नी जाती है पानी पीने के लिए, पैर फिसल जाता है, तालाब में गिर जाती है, डूब जाती है। अब लकड़हारा को तैरना तो आता नहीं था, तो वो भी साइड में बैठ कर रोने लगता है। फिर से देवता प्रकट होते हैं, देवता कहते हैं कि क्या हो गया। अब वो व्यक्ति कहता है कि जी आप सब जानते हैं, लेकिन पूछ रहे तो बताता हूँ कि मेरी धर्मपत्नी थी, गिर गई, और अब उसका क्या होगा, मैं उसके बिना कैसे अपना जीवन चलाऊंगा, मतलब मेरा तो जीवन समाप्ति हो गया। हम दोनों थे साथ, एक दूसरे के दुख सुख को बांटते थे। देवता कहता है कोई समस्या नहीं, अभी तुम्हारी पत्नी को हम ला देते हैं। हाथ डालते हैं तो एक बड़ी सुंदर नारी को निकालते हैं, कहते हैं कि ये तुम्हारी पत्नी है। अब देखो मन कितना तेज है। वो व्यक्ति कहता है हाँ जी ये मेरी पत्नी है, ये सुंदर व्यक्ति जो है ये मेरी पत्नी है। अब वो देवता भी एकदम हैरान हो जाता है कि 3-4 दिन पहले तो बड़ा ईमानदार था ये व्यक्ति, आज इसे क्या हो गया। तो पूछते हैं कि भैया ये बताओ कि क्या हो गया तुम्हें, कल तो बड़े ईमानदार बन रहे थे कुछ दिन पहले, और आज ये सुंदर नारी को देखा तो मन बदल गया। तो वो व्यक्ति क्या कहता है कि नहीं देवता जी, प्रभु आप मेरी बात को नहीं समझते, अभी आपने ये नारी निकाली है, फिर आप एक दूसरी नारी निकालोगे, जब मैं कहूँगा ये मेरी पत्नी नहीं है। फिर आप जब दूसरी नारी निकालोगे, पूछोगे ये तुम्हारी पत्नी है, मैं कहूँगा जी ये भी नहीं है। तीसरी बार में आप मेरी बीवी को निकालोगे और फिर आप मेरी ईमानदारी से इतने प्रश्न होंगे कि आप तीनों मुझे दे दोगे, मैं 3 बीवियां नहीं रख सकता, एक ही बहुत है। तो ये है मन, असत्य को सत्य बना दे, सत्य को असत्य बना दे। एक पल में हमें कोई क्षण भर का भी हिचक नहीं होती। लेकिन अगर मन चलायमान है तो हम सत्य को अपने अंदर कैसे जान सकते हैं? मन तो वासनाओं में ही घूमता रहेगा। इसलिए इस मन को, इस चलायमान मन को फोकस करना है, और वही क्रिया है ध्यान साधना। आदमी जो वह हिमालयों की चोटी पर बैठ करके कर रहे हैं, वो क्या कर रहे हैं? अपने मन को फोकस ही कर रहे हैं। और गुरु महाराज जी की कृपा से आज हमें एक मौका मिला है इस चीज को समझने का कि हम किसी भी अवस्था में हो, किसी भी परेशानी में हो, किसी भी परिस्थिति में हो, लेकिन आपकी श्वासें आपके पास है, उनसे कोई छीन नहीं सकता आपको। तो अगर आप अपने मन को, ये जो समय हमें मिला है जीवन के अनुभव को पाने का, अगर इसमें से कुछ समय अपने मन को हम अपने वश में कर करके से अपने ध्येय में लगाए, तो हम अपने बारे में क्या कुछ नहीं जान सकते, अभी तक हमने जाना ही नहीं, और अपने आप को जानना ही जीवन का मकसद है। तो महान पुरुष ये समझाते हैं कि जब तक अपने आप को नहीं जाना तब तक जीवन है, जीवन में उतार चढ़ाव रहेंगे, मिलना बिछड़ना रहेगा, लेकिन जीवन में संतुष्टि नहीं रहेगी, और संतुष्टि के बिना ये जीवन व्यर्थ है। भाई आप कुछ भी काम करते हैं तो अंत में संतुष्टि के तो कर रहे हैं, सैटिस्फैक्शन के तो कर रहे हैं। आप नौकरी कर रहे हैं, किस लिए कर रहे हैं? परिवार का सृजन हो रहा है, किस लिए हो रहा है? क्योंकि हम चाहते हैं कि जीवन संतुष्ट हो। लेकिन इंडिविजुअली अपने लाइफ में अगर हमने व्यक्तिगत रूप से अपने आप को नहीं समझा तो जीवन में हर एक चीज रहेगी, परिवार रहेगा, नौकरी रहेगी, ये संसार रहेगा, संसार की चमक धमक रहेगी, लेकिन कहीं अपने ही जीवन में हम अशांत रहेंगे, असंतुष्ट रहेंगे। और यही जो असंतुष्टि का तोड़ है, यही महान पुरुष हमें बताते हैं कि जीवन संपूर्ण हम कैसे बना सकें। चाहे हम किसी भी परिस्थिति में हैं, हम भारत देश में रह रहे हैं, हम भारत से दूर रह रहे हैं, इससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता। अगर आप सच्चे निष्ठा से, सच्ची लगन से सच्चा कर्म करोगे तो प्रभु आपके पास ही है, आपके घट में है। तो यही बात महान पुरुष हमें समझाते हैं, और हमें बार बार मौका मिलेगा। और अगले साल तो बड़ी खुशी की बात है कि माता जी भी आएंगे, क्योंकि अभी आश्रम को हमने ले लिया, लेकिन उसका उद्घाटन नहीं हुआ है। तो गुरु महाराज जी स्वयं आकर के आश्रम का उद्घाटन करेंगे। तो हमारा यही है कि आप लोगों को एक दूसरे की मदद करना है, अपनी संस्कृति को आपको आगे बढ़ाना है, और ये काम आप ही कर सकते हैं, आप कोई नहीं कर सकते। तो मेरा यही कहना है कि बहुत हमें अच्छा लगा कि इतनी दूर आकर के भी हमें नेपाल और भारत के इतने रंग देखने को मिल रहे हैं। तो इस संस्कृति को बरकरार रखें, क्योंकि जो हमारी पहचान है वो हमारी संस्कृति है, हमारा कल्चर है। अगर हम इसे भुला दें तो हमारा कोई अस्तित्व नहीं है। तो ये बहुत अच्छी बात है कि भारत देश और नेपाल से भी इतनी दूर आप लोगों ने अपने रहन सहन को नहीं बदला, अपने खान पान को नहीं बदला, और ये बहुत अच्छी बात है, ये मन को बहुत प्रसन्न करती है। तो हम यही कहेंगे कि भगवान आप सबके जीवन में आपको शक्ति दे कि हम जीवन में सच्चे रास्ते पे चल सके और अपने जीवन के मकसद को हम पा सके। इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ सबको दुआ।